Good morning, everybody.
No.
Good morning. Want to say good morning?
Good morning.
That's my son. How you guys doing? Got a little bit more sleep. It's been really busy in my life, but you know what? Whether you're busy or not, one of the things that could remain consistent is your time with God and in the Word. So keep at it. Continue on. Do your best. Make this a habit of waking up every morning so that you could go ahead and read the Word and hear what God has to say to you every day. I prefer like right when you wake up. So if you're watching this in the morning, good on you. But if you prefer middle of the day, late at night, whatever, that's totally up to you. But if you're encouraged and inspired or whatever God's trying to teach you, then that's worth it. Because, your daily devotions are something you have to do. Reading the Word and praying is a thing you need to do together with God. So we're continuing on. This is day 40, Proverbs 10, 14 to 15 in the ESV. If you have any other versions of the Bible that you want to read, that's fine. But I just chose the ESV as kind of the one I'm going to go to regularly for now. I'm not going to go into the pros and cons of using any of the other versions like the NIV or the American Standard or whatever. So, but I'm doing the ESV, English Standard Version. The wise lay up knowledge, but the mouth of the fool brings ruin near. A rich man's wealth is his strong city. The poverty of the poor is their ruin. So I'm going to always go ahead and refer back to the pillars of wisdom and what it means to be a believer, as we've been learning here in Solomon's words in Proverbs. And just remember that the 7 pillars are purity, peacefulness, gentleness, reasonableness, full of mercy, and good fruits, impartiality, and sincerity. Also, a part of that in wisdom is the beginning of all wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. And also, I've been saying a lot is your integrity and how you live your life when no one's not looking. Living your life in a way that whether people are watching you or not is also important, because there's always someone watching you, and that's God. Having sound mind, and that's all about taking responsibility for your own actions. And this idea of willingness, and I just put this down myself, responsibility also means that you're willing to say sorry for when you're wrong. I know it's sometimes hard to do that, but those are some of the things. Like here, Sam, I've been teaching him how to take responsibility, and one of it, when he does bad, I tell him, hey, does something wrong, he has to say sorry. When he takes something without asking, or drops something or messes something up.
No.
You want to respond to that?
No.
Do you know how to say sorry? You don't have to say sorry because you don't have to say sorry for anything right now. But when he does, he has to. He has to learn that. The other thing is learning how to say no. That's like the first words you teach kids. So a little parenting advice. One of the first words that children learn is no. You want to know why? Because it helps them learn about boundaries. And what boundaries are is knowing what's good and bad and right and wrong. Like saying no is important, because there's so many times when I've had people come up to my children and just want to touch them or kiss them or something like that, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? So be aware of that. Oh, and also a part of the pillars is the fruit of the Spirit, found in Galatians 5:22-23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. So this will be always our baseline. Just always think about that as we are continuing on and learning about wisdom, because wisdom is like next to God. It's like they're almost like the same person. Okay, so the person who is wise will hold. It says will lay up wisdom, and what that means is they'll always hold wisdom in the heart. It's they'll store it. They always go to it. They always it's a part of their lives that they don't don't get rid of. And so it's kind of like a quiet kind of understanding, like they just kind of quietly gather the knowledge and just lay it up. So the next part is pretty interesting. I had to kind of look it up. What does it mean? Because the mouth of the fool brings up room. So the first thing that comes to my mind is if you talk too much or say things, it's kind of it kind of could be bad. There is a thing where you need to speak, and that's for presentations. Or I'm an educator, so I'm always in front of students, teaching them content and stuff like that. But the mouth of the fool, one of the things that's intent of the mouth of the fool, it's like they babble, they blab, they kind of just keep on talking, and one of the things that kind of comes up is that they have a mouth that doesn't has no restraint. Okay, so I'm very controlled when I'm speaking. Generally speaking, I'm controlled, where I have specific things I have to teach, and I'm teaching that things. Yes, I use examples or anecdotes and all that kind of stuff to kind of bring up content in a way that is relatable to other people, or especially students and stuff like that. So I'm pretty controlled. But a person who has a mouth of the fool, kind of like the first thing that came to my mind was Tourette's. They just blah, just say like blah, random things like verbal vomit, and I feel like a wise person is able to have self control of the verbal vomit. And I don't know. Are you someone who has ADHD? No offense, I think I do. To a lesser extent than other people that I know, because I don't take medicine for it, and I know some people who are adults that need to take medicine for their ADHD. But the one thing about the ADHD is that they are continually thinking, continually talking. Things are so much on their mind that's like really quick, like fast, like their mind is constantly going. And I can see how some people with ADHD can just say stuff. And someone who hasn't learned how to say no or yes or learn boundaries will have a hard time with that. And when they get called out, they still have a hard time with that. I know yesterday we talked about rod is the back of someone who lacks sense. Oh, there's another one where the babbling fool. See, a babbling fool comes to ruin. There it is. We did it again. We said it before. The rod is for the back of him who lacks sense. And there's another one where I forgot where it was, but the person who is wise is not happy with discipline. Babbling fool comes to ruin. The wise heart, receives commandment. That's what it is. A wise heart receives commandments, or being called out. I said that like 4 days ago. Like a wise person is okay with being called out, but I think a babbling fool will have a hard time. They would get called out because they lack restraint, and that's a big one. Another one that came up as babbling fool also caused conflict and struggle. So when you're talking and stuff, it actually, you could say stuff that is inappropriate and to say stuff that you shouldn't have said, and it could, like, seriously, it could hurt relationships when you say stuff that you're not supposed to say to another person, like you're fat. That's like a very light version of what it is, like calling people, saying something derogatory about how they look. That's a common thing that is pretty much understood that you shouldn't do. Okay, as an educator, I have to watch my words, because if I offend or say something derogatory to students, that's pretty. I could get in trouble for that. I get called out. A parent will call me up. What do you mean by that? And I could get legal situations. I could get called to court for something like that. So I really have to watch my voice. And another thing is talking. Like, I know students like to talk about other teachers, like teachers they like and don't like. I made it a policy not to talk about other teachers because that's inappropriate. Because the teachers are my friends, they're coworkers and stuff like that. Whether they're good teachers or not, it doesn't matter. They're still coworkers. If there are issues with teachers specifically that students talk to me about, I could go ahead and talk to my admin about it, or depending on the relationship. I don't think I've ever went up to a teacher to talk to them about how they teach and stuff like that, because that's not my position. I don't go around telling teachers how to teach, unless there's a space for that, where we have co-teachers and stuff like that. But going into discourse about other teachers or other people in general, that's not appropriate. So I can get in trouble for that. So I let other people do that. Other thing that happened in the past where I had friends who would give me information, and then I would reveal that information to others when people trust me to keep confidence. And so they would call me out and say, "Why did you tell him that?" And then what happens is that they don't trust me anymore. They won't want to talk to me in those kind of situations. So again, the mouth of the food, it leads to my relational ruin, and also could lead to from other friends and stuff like that. Also in the workplace, I could lose a job, get in trouble, and all that kind of stuff. So I really have to watch how I say it. Okay. And also, like, speaking just to speak also reveals kind of like possibility of ignorance and all kind of stuff of you not knowing anything. You just speak out, and people know this. Like, you're just speaking of things you don't know. And the last one is what's the last one? I had to look it up. Rejecting correction. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, people who are babbling fools actually are full mouth of a fool. Like, speak. Try to give excuses for things that they have done and everything. That's a lot for your mouth bringing ruin. And actually, it says God, Jesus talks about your mouth a lot, or the things that come out of your mouth reveals your heart. Okay, you can find that in the Gospels. I don't know the specific verse, but it's there. So watch out. A rich man's wealth. So this is the contrast. The wise. The wise versus the mouth of the fool. And then rich man's wealth. Poverty of the poor. And so this actually says what a wise does. It's not a result. So I'll just put it, the wisely have knowledge, but the mouth of the fool, this is actually a result of. And so is his strong city. So this actually is sort of, and again, this idea of ruin. Okay. Yeah, this is talking about like your material wealth and stuff like that, and how. I do it like that. I feel like standing up. Yeah, and so a rich man's wealth is a strong city, and the poverty of the poor is their ruin. Basically talking about your material wealth and how when you do have wealth, there's a security in it that wouldn't come with people who are poor. And poor people generally has a better chance of having a hard time, because when you're rich, you could go ahead and deal with the issue of I guess in our society, it has to do with medical benefits and stuff like that, and the ability to pay rent and the ability to take care of your family and stuff like that. The poor have a hard time with that, and I would like to read verse 15 a little bit more and study it a little bit more. But I have a sense that, or from what I looked up and read and commentaries and stuff like that, it has to do with we struggle with material wealth and put a lot of stock in our material wealth. But the Proverbs actually says, which I would like to find and look up, is that our wealth should actually be in our spiritual wealth, in God, the wealth that God gives us, and that has to do with. So I guess that would be a metaphor. A rich man's wealth is actually a wise man. A wise man is someone who is rich, and his life is a strong city and is secure. But someone who is not rich in wisdom and are not wise can lead to their ruin. And we talked about what ruin could be. It could be relational ruin. It could be mostly relational ruin, and I guess going in hell kind of thing is a ruin. It's going in a way that is not appropriate for the life that you should be living when you're following God. If you're not following God and you don't care, then yeah, go ahead and do their thing and stuff like that. But I feel like wisdom is the way to go, and remembering what we said before about the baseline of what it means to be wise when you're following wisdom. She is definitely an amazing woman to follow. She is beautiful and all that. If you want to continue on with the metaphor. Anyways, it is a little bit later, so my family's waking up. I usually do this when everyone's asleep, so I can just have a quiet moment. And that's when you should be doing your quiet times. But anyways, looks like everyone's waking up, and I hope you learned something. And watch your mouth. That's basically what I was saying. Anyways, thank you for joining me in, and I'll see you guys next time.